Now, a few hours ago, I spoke to Mariam Abdullahi. She's Google's director for Android platform partnerships. And part of this $200 million a year investment push aims to have a lot more Africans using Android Go. It's a slimmed down version of the Android operating system that works particularly well for low-cost devices. I started our conversation, though, by exploring the business case for Android Go when Android was already the dominant mobile OS in Africa.
So the main rationale behind that is for us to address the biggest barriers for what that we're facing in emerging markets, and particularly in Africa, which is affordability of devices, affordability of data, and lastly, digital skills.
I mean, I would understand having this conversation, maybe saying, let's say 2013, right, when smartphone uptake rates across most of the major markets in sub-Saharan Africa were relatively low, and partly because of cost. But now you can get access to smartphones running Android 9, Android 8 for $100, for $150, for $200. In that sort of context, is there really a market space for Android Go?
Again, another great question, Ramah. Let me just start off by saying our continent is still below 50% in smartphone penetration. So the addressable market is absolutely still very big. And when we talk about Android, our objective is to ensure that everybody has access to the latest device and the latest OS running it rather than a previous OS. And when you talk about 100 or $200, let's go back to what our users in Africa, the earning capacity, it's $1 to $3. So $100 device is still a pretty costly device for a household in Kenya, for example, or Africa as a whole. That is why we are partnering with partners like Safaricom, and we announced that Double, which is pay as you go for your device. Campaigns like that will allow the users to be able to join the digital age through affordable means, being able to pay for the devices in an affordable manner through the device financing that our partners are offering. And it's not just in Kenya. Our plan is to expand that initiative across the continent with partners like Airtel, with MTN, with Vodacom, with Transient Group, so that we are able to touch every country across the continent and be able to address all users who are eligible for smartphones and are able to get access to smartphones as well.
I'm glad you brought up Transsion Holdings because they're essentially the biggest seller of smartphones across the continent at the moment. Ultimately, for this Android Go adoption to essentially take off, manufacturers also need to play ball, right? And for a lot of them, their money tends to be in models with much higher margins, most of which run on Android. So what's in it for them?
Absolutely. I mean, Transient Holdings is one of our partners, but they're not the only ones. We have a whole host of partners working across the continent of Africa, including HMD, Xiaomi, Vivo, and the likes. But you're right, Transient Holding does occupy the largest percentage of the devices on the continent of Africa. What is in it for them, of course, they're obviously as we are, which is to ensure that Africans are able to join the digital age through quality devices. But those quality devices have to be powered by the latest operating system that is able to provide secure and affordable access in a quality manner to all of our users.
Google, of course, has been right in the center of this trade war, for lack of a better word, this fight over IP access and access to proprietary tech between the United States and China as well. And a lot of these handset manufacturers tend to be based in or owned by Chinese entities. Do you see that as a potential threat to your ability to expand access to smartphones across the African continent?
The simple answer is no, Ramah. I mean, we are compliant with all of the laws in each of the countries we operate in, and it's very important that we remain compliant with all of those laws. We work with partners from across the globe, not just in China. And our objective is to be able to have synergies in what we are solving for. All of us are solving for digital adoption and digital transformation of the continent. So that's the real focus. We need to keep our eye on the ball, and our eye on the ball means how do we make sure that every African has the power of computing in their hands through quality devices, no matter where they're manufactured. but of course, in compliance with all of the laws in all of the countries that we operate in.
But it is a pretty volatile environment to be operating in. I mean, if you had this conversation 5 years ago, no one would have thought that Huawei might have been told, no, you can't have access to the main to Google services suite. That's Huawei a couple of years ago. Might be Transsion Holdings next, theoretically speaking. What happens next?
I think, Rama, that is essentially not a question that I can answer by myself. To be honest, I think we need to leave those to the various jurisdictions and governments to be able to answer. I think our focus is to be able to ensure that we deliver on our mission, to make sure that Africans have access to quality internet through quality devices, through quality connectivity, and that we are supporting Africa's digital transformation as we have done in the last 14 years on this continent and across the globe for the last 23